Welcome to the Future AI podcast. AI can be overwhelming, which is to be expected as a radical new technology. But that makes it hard for you to know what really matters, what can help you, and what is just noise you can ignore. That's why I created the Future AI, a podcast, email newsletter, practical courses and guides to help you learn AI the easy way. You can find a link to the Future AI website in the podcast show notes. And I'm the creator of the Future AI, Pranath Fernando. So today I'm covering part of my free course, Learn How to Use Claude AI. This course is a comprehensive course for beginners that helps you learn how to use Claude AI, a powerful generative AI tool, and explores its capabilities, limitations, and best practices for effective use. This course teaches you what AI, generative AI, and Claude all are, showing you how to use Claude for personal tasks to work applications. This course provides practical guide for how to use Claude to help you in your work and in your life. You'll find a link to this course in the podcast show notes. So today we're covering part 6 of the course, which is the final part of this course. And in this guide, we'll just be covering some final top tips and tricks for using Claude. So Claude, developed by Anthropic, is a powerful AI assistant that we've been looking at in the course of these 6 free guides of this course. And this guide is going to provide you with just some final top tips and tricks to further improve your results with Claude. Number 1, experiment with prompts. Don't be afraid to try different ways of asking questions or giving instructions. You might think that asking for things in a different way shouldn't make any difference, but actually it really does. Claude AI is smart, but sometimes it might not quite understand exactly what you want. Think about it a bit like a person. You might know from just speaking to different people that people understand things in different ways. So sometimes in the same way that we need to ask a certain person things in a certain way for them to understand. Think of Claude a bit like that. If you don't get the answer you're looking for or the results that you want, try rephrasing your question or prompt, or giving more context. 2. Using Claude for brainstorming. Claude AI is actually great for coming up with ideas. If you're stuck on a problem or need some creative inspiration, ask Claude AI for suggestions. You might be surprised at the ideas it comes up with. 3. Integrate Claude. Claude AI can be made even more powerful by connecting it to other relevant tools and systems. There are different ways that you can integrate Claude into your existing workflow so that you can easily use sophisticated reasoning and language processors ability to analyze data and even to create interactive chatbots. 4. Use XML tags. So Claude is fine-tuned to recognize XML tags for the prompts. What are XML tags? They're basically little bits of computer code, very similar to the kind of code that makes web pages on websites. Adding XML tags can give your prompt better structure, helping Claude to differentiate different parts of the prompt and leading to higher accuracy in generating responses. 5. Reduce verbosity. Claude can sometimes produce unasked for and verbose responses. To cut down on this, instruct Claude for how to start its responses by expanding the prompt to the assistant part or using the API. So for example, using tags like summarize can help prevent verbosity. 6. Give Claude time to think. So Anthropic, the company that makes Claude, suggests a prompting technique called giving time to think. And this method actually explicitly instructs the Claude AI to create an intermediary response that is not shown but is drawn upon by Claude and provides the final answer. And this helps Claude zero in on the most relevant context to use while making predictions. So, for example, if I was to give it a simple task like give me the result of 2 times 10, another way I could ask for that is for give me the result of 2 times 10. Take time to think about it before you give me your answer. Now, in this particular example, it probably won't make much difference because Claude could probably do that anyway quite easily. But this is actually a really useful technique if you are asking for something that is a bit more complicated. So the giving time to think prompt can actually be really helpful and produce much better results. 7. Allowing Claude to say, I don't know. So, as we covered in previous guides, hallucinations are when Claude or other AIs say things that are not factually correct or true. So, one way you can prevent hallucinations by Claude and maintain more accurate factual information is to actually give Claude the explicit permission to say, I don't know, in response to questions it can't answer. Now, again, you might think, why should I have to say this? Why can't Claude just say, I don't know? Well, I guess it has a lot to do with how Claude AI is trained. And if you remember back in our earlier parts of the course, when we explain how Claude is trained and created by looking at lots and lots of examples of text and language, Claude is really good at just trying to give you what you are asking for, or trying really hard. And sometimes it can try so hard to please you that it will even very, very occasionally make things up. And as we know from previous parts of the course, while AI hallucinations are quite rare, they do happen very, very occasionally. So this is a really great technique for actually telling Claude explicitly, hey, don't make stuff up. It's okay to say I don't know, and actually encouraging Claude to not do that, even in those rare cases. And this approach takes advantage of Claude's literal interpretation of what its instructions and helping avoid misinformation. 8. Embrace the power of the retry button. So sometimes the first response isn't always the best. Don't be afraid to hit that retry button, which is next to every single response Claude gives, to generate an alternative response. So another way to think about this is Claude isn't like many, I suppose, uses of computers before, or even any machines. We're used to thinking about machines as we just press a button and get a result, or like a sausage machine. We put in sausage meat in one end and we get sausages out the other. We're used to thinking of using machines in just one way and getting one result. But Claude, an AI, isn't like that. It's creative. When you ask it the same thing a couple of times, it can give very different responses. And this can actually be a good thing. It's creative, so it can give you just very different ways of trying to solve the same problem. So remember that. Claude is not like a button where you get an instant fixed same response every time. Claude and other AIs are creative. So remember the retry button. Give it a try a few times. Even if you've got a really, really good response, try it again. Maybe you'll get an even better response. There's no harm in trying. And actually, remember, the free version of Claude you can use, it won't even cost you anything. 9. Experiment with different writing styles. So unlock really fresh perspectives and different insights by asking Claude in different ways and also different styles. So for example, you are an expert, so this is role prompting in profession, or let's role play as a specific character, and see how Claude adapts when you encourage it to use different ways of thinking or responding. Even beyond role playing, you can ask it to write in different styles and formats. 10. Use formatting. So Claude is really, really good at understanding different kinds of formats. So why not use its ability if you want things output in a certain way, maybe in a certain number of paragraphs, or maybe even as a table. It can even create documents like Word documents or CSVs. So use Claude's knowledge of different formats to ask for what you want. And it could be text, tables, or lists. However you want it, be clear about the format that you want it and ask for it. 11. Tone it up or down. So one thing you'll start to notice after a while is each AI system, like Claude or others such as ChatGPT, in a certain way kind of have their own personality. And a very, very common personality trait of these AIs is they can seem a bit excited or very enthusiastic and keen to help. Sometimes that's not quite right for the kind of things that you want. So if you're trying to get it to generate a product description or something like that, or a summary of an article that you want to use somewhere else, sometimes the overly excited way that it can kind of respond just doesn't quite sound right. Claude is actually not the most excitable, I have to say, but it still might respond in a way that just, it's not what it's saying, but how it's saying it. So remember, you can ask it to tone up and tone down, or change how it's talking to you, not only what it's saying. So you can request that Claude adapts different tones, personalities, or communication styles to suit your needs. One of the fun things I quite like to do is getting it to assume a certain personality, and then you can kind of have a conversation. So, for example, you could get it to assume the personality of somebody, like an author or somebody really famous that you would actually like to have a conversation with. It probably knows quite a bit about who they are. And so, yeah, consider playing around with tone and how it's talking to you as much as what it's saying. 12. Engage in hypothetical scenarios. So you can explore potential outcomes and implications by engaging Claude in hypothetical scenarios and thought experiments about things that might happen. And it's a bit like having a personal simulation engine to test out ideas and strategies before bringing them to life. And you can then even ask it to explain the reasons why it thinks it's going to come out with these particular outcomes. So this is a really, really great way that I also use a lot of the time to just kind of game playing certain strategies and scenarios for all kinds of things, whether it's for writing content or even just planning out things in my work and life. Claude is really, really great for imagining things. So use it to help you with hypothetical scenarios. 13. Crunch numbers. So you'll hear a lot and see a lot about Claude using text. But Claude actually understands numbers pretty well as well. So don't forget, you can use Claude's ability to understand and generate mathematical equations, formulas, or even do scientific notations. It knows all about that as well. Cite it right. 14. So you can also use Claude's knowledge of different specific citation styles. So, for example, APA, MLA, or Chicago, to help with academic writing and referencing if you're needing to do that. 15. Practice makes perfect. Experiment with using Claude as a sounding board for practicing presentations, speeches, a new language, or difficult conversations. A great way that I've used it myself is to practice interview questions and to take on a certain role. So to use role prompting, give, for example, Claude information about let's say I was interviewing for a job So you could give Claude all the information about the entire job description and the company. You could ask it to assume the role of an interviewer and get it to ask you questions. It's actually a really, really great way to test your knowledge. It also knows about interviews, so it can take everything about the specific job position, use everything it's learnt from the internet and books about what interviewers ask and how they ask it. And actually, I found it really, really useful for asking actually the kind of questions that interviewers often ask, sometimes difficult, sometimes personal. And the other thing is, it's available 24/7, anytime you want, and it will never get bored with practicing with you. So don't forget, you can use Claude to practice many, many things, and it will never get bored. 16. Get an expert opinion. So you can ask Claude to provide constructive feedback and suggestions, for example, for improving your writing, coding, or the way you're solving problems. So with prompts such as, give me feedback on this piece of text from my article, you can tap into the wisdom of Claude, who's read millions and millions of articles, books, and really knows quite a lot about writing. Here are some extra additional tips for you as well. File formats. So you can use Claude's knowledge of different file formats to assist with, for example, converting between different formats, data processing, or even content restructuring. Data analysis and visualization. Specify insights or, for example, chart types that you might need, and watch Claude turn raw numbers into compelling stories. Navigating unstructured data. If you have a bunch of messy data that's hard to make sense of, Claude can help you find the most important information inside it. It's a bit like having a personal assistant to organize your text and files. So by using these tips and tricks in your usage of Claude, you can really unlock its full potential and achieve better, more accurate and helpful responses. Remember, the key to mastering Claude is ongoing experimentation and practice. The more you explore and play around with different prompts and approaches using everything I've given you throughout this course, the more you'll discover just how versatile and powerful Claude can be. Let me know how you find using it in the comments. I'd love to know how you find using it. And good luck. You'll find a link to the entire course and all the guides in this course in the show notes. And I'll see you next time.